Welcome back to another segment of Behind the Scenes of the Waltons. Today I'm continuing my conversation with actor Tony Becker, who played Drew, Elizabeth's boyfriend. Please welcome back, Tony.
I was doing the Waltons with you guys when I started construction. And I started building with my neighbor. Older guy lived across the street. And I said, hey, I want to learn how to build houses. And I was 17. And at 19, I was running his whole crew of guys.
Wow.
Framing houses out here in the valley. It was a blast. I really dug it. And I've always had that to come back from my work in Hawaii. I'd come home and I'd run a tractor for a month or so. But as they say, if you give yourself a backup plan, it's easy to bail on the first plan. So I got sucked into my backup plan. All of a sudden, I get married and have kids, and you just got to go, what's it for? I can't leave work for that. When they have a meeting for you and the word, they never want you to ask what's it for and how long. They just go. Like, it's going to cost me too much money to do that. I did a episodic last year, and it literally cost me more money to do it than you make, and it's like, that's tough. It was a tough balance, especially. Yeah. Also, one thing was in the 80s. In the 80s, I was really lucky to work. And so let's say I did 10 episodic guest stars. Right? That's a lot. Yeah. Well, you made $3,500 for the show. You made $35,000. You had half of that, if not more, taken out in taxes. You really went home with about $13,000. Everywhere you go, people recognize you at that point, and you're driving a crummy old Mustang. You're just trying to survive, and they have no idea.
Yeah.
And then when I was lucky enough to get on tour duty, which was a dream job, it's a great series about the Vietnam War. Really, I thought we did some good work there. Well, then when that ends after 3 years, you're kind of living in a different world. And when it ends, it doesn't slowly end. It ends. You're like, wait, what? What do I do now? And then it's, you're getting, some opportunities for some jobs that they're not that exciting. Mm-hmm. So it is a strange business for sure.
Yeah, it is. And the more prominent and the more visibility you've had, the tougher it is, because it can open some doors and it can close some doors.
And the other thing with the Waltons, when these 5 years have been difficult for me personally, and for a lot of people. Everyone I know now, everyone has their own story. Everyone has a story, but you go through the pandemic, and then I go through this cancer thing, and then I go through these shoulder things. The good news is I've worn out my body completely, but they can rebuild it, and I never use my head. So I got all this fresh brain in here that I can start working on, because I literally never use it. I would jump off stuff. It was like, dude, what are you doing? So at least that's new. But with the Waltons, that response I got when you literally went in to get, my ears checked, and he said, hey, you've got this situation going on and you're not going to work for a year. I said, what? And you're living, we're month to month, we're week to week paying our bills, and we're happy to do it. That's life. But when somebody pulls the plug on you, it's really odd, because I've always been a guy that was always there for everyone. I'm like, that's what I do. That's what if a vacation to me would be going to someone's house and building a barn, that would be that kind of stuff. So when all of a sudden it was me needing help, it was really hard to. Or
can you share a bit with the viewers who don't necessarily know that history of what happened? Because I know they'll be asking, what.
Oh, so yeah. So 2 years ago, I went in, I'm working construction, I'm doing my thing. I went in to see my ENT because I had an ear infection. And he looked at my throat and he goes, oh. And I'm sitting there and I go, well, that's not a great attitude. He said, yeah. Okay, well, listen, there's something, I want to biopsy something in your throat. And do you have anything else to do today? And I said, I guess not, doc. What do we got to do? What am I going to say? So he biopsies this thing, and he just then takes it out. Literally right there says, this is cancer. I can't tell you which kind it is, but it's cancer. And this is what's going to happen. I said, all right. I didn't react. I was so bad. I even just texted my wife. They say I have throat cancer.
Mm.
Well, she was aware of what that meant. I didn't know. I didn't want to know. Let's get after it. Make a long story short, it was throat cancer, and I had to go through 37 radiations and 6 chemos, and it's pretty tough. Definitely tough, because it's just here in your throat. Like, as I talk, sometimes my jaw will cramp up and I have to stop, and that's just part of it. You're forever kind of messed up in this part of your body, but when you're going through it, you got to breathe through there. You got to eat through there. You got to swallow through there, and it's just one big wound. So it was definitely challenging, to say the least. I used
to lose weight, Tony.
Oh, it was a great weight loss program. I went from I went in at like 190 something, almost 200, and he said, put on as much weight as you can. So I was probably 213. I came out at 150 pounds.
Wow.
Barely alive. Went in twice to the ER and on my last legs. And I never thought. And one night I remember thinking, should I call my family and tell them I love them and all that? Then I went, that's so stupid, dude. Just get up, go to the bathroom. You'll be up in the morning. Don't quit. But when one of the doctors said, you're probably wondering, why me? How's this? I said, never crossed my mind. Never crossed my mind. People get sick every day. I get a flat tire. I pull over and I change it. So just tell me what we got to do. Had I read about it, it would have been more difficult to do because everyone's different. I ended up having a more difficult time than most, so my doctor said. And if someone had told me that was what I was going to go through, it would have been, you don't have a choice. There's no choice. So you've got to do it. It's going to save your life. And it did. So 2 years now, I'm 2 years out. Still, they still get you with, even though the insurance is good, you still have bills, and it's still, if you come out of it and you're only $60,000 or $100,000 in debt, you're way ahead, because it's just brutal. But, so just, went through that. And when I was going through it, I didn't know how we were going to make ends meet. And my sister had said, well, I want to do a GoFundMe for you. I said, I can't do that. Can't do it. No, I just can't do that. I'll figure it out. I can sell these cars. And she did. And the people that helped out, they have no idea what $1 meant, what really, because you're here and you think, wow, this is over. I got to, my daughter's 12 years old at the time. She's 14 now. And I'm thinking, man, I got to get through this for her. I got to get to the other side of this. Now, it's not like I am a warrior or any of that stuff. The doctors saved my life. By almost killing me. they did, like, kind of like, hey, if you survive the treatment, we probably will have gotten the cancer. That's how it goes. But there's always someone in worse. I remember being in the hospital thinking, there's always someone in worse. Some kid came in that night at Cedars, and he had lost his leg in an accident. I'm like, I'm going to get through this. I'm going to be fine. And I'm 60 years old. I've had a great life, so I was never, my worry now is not about having it catch up with me, because if it does, it does. That's just life. My worry is not going to see the doctor the week earlier that they would have said, oh yeah, no, we can get this. Those are my worries. I just don't want to get a situation where they go, oh, if you just come in last week. But
the good news is you weren't making a living as a singer.
Exactly. It wasn't. Actually, my voice, I think, is better now that I went through that. I can really do a good cowboy. It's much lower and scruffy. But
yes.
yeah, but it just was amazing. And the people from all these fans of the Waltons and just lovely, lovely people. And I think we're all like that. I think one of the last gatherings that we did for the Waltons, I had said to the people there, I said, one thing about everybody from the show and even the cast and the crew and everybody, and also all the fans that we run into, if there was an accident down on the road, the bus flipped over, we'd all run out there and just try to save everybody. We wouldn't ask them about their backgrounds or anything. We would just save them. That's who we are. And usually, almost all the time, when we do these benefits or the fan get-togethers, it's such a great group of people. They're all just, they just seem to be really loving, caring people, and we're in tough times with the way politics is and the way everyone is kind of, no one's talking to each other. It's either, one side or the other, which is odd. We get to those things and I don't feel that at all. I don't see it. That was the whole thing about doing the show. There were so many great moments on that show.
Yeah. What stands out for you? Because I know our viewers love hearing, behind the scenes anecdotes about.
Oh boy. Well, first of all, Eric is crazy and I love him. I love him. And he'll never know how much I love him. I love the guy.
It's his birthday today.
Today? That
we're shooting. Yeah.
Oh, really?
It won't be his birthday the day this airs, but today is his birthday.
Really? So for me, the best for wild one, I love the cars. I always wanted to do something on horses because I was roping at the time, and I thought, they'd be really surprised to know I could do that, but I never got to. And I probably would have fallen off anyway. I was always.
Well, you had that storyline where Cammie, where Elizabeth has the horse and you're, pissed off because she wants to spend all the time with the horse and you don't want to. And Cammie's not a horse person and you are.
And I'll tell you what's funny is we watch those now. Tiffany and my wife and they'll come on and, you're walking through the room, it's on, you look up and you'll stop and you watch and I'll go, it's a pretty good scene. We had some really good little moments there, she and I, it was really fun. I remember all those. I do remember Ralph. Two things Ralph said. We were sitting there in the chairs, and he says, one thing he said to me, which, God, had I only known to listen. He said, Tony, you ought to be working all the time. Ralph Waite said that to me, and I said, Ralph, would you please tell that to somebody that could get me a job? That'd be nice. And that was really cool. And he and I started doing all these scenes together, and they were wonderful. Like he and I would talk just like this about something, Cool Hand Luke or some show that I wouldn't know about. And then they'd say action and we'd just keep talking and do the whole scene the same way, just as mellow. And they'd say cut and we'd go back to it was just so nice. Did
he share stories about working on Cool Hand Luke? Because I never thought to ask,
No, I don't remember at this point. I was pretty much in awe of the guy. I get more stories. The guy that one of my dearest friends now is this guy, Jim Arnett, who was Paul Newman's stunt man for many, many years. And then he went on to do a bunch of second unit directing on big, big films and great, just a wonderful guy. Was a wonderful, wonderful guy. He tells me a lot of stories about that because he'll tell me about Cool Hand Luke and we'll talk about Ralph and, so he'll give me some stuff there. But no, I didn't. I forget, it was so long ago. I do remember him once. I was, this little wannabe jock from Hollywood High School wearing my jersey probably. And he said, Tony, it's not a very masculine job, is it? Acting, and I looked at him like he read my mind. I said, yeah, I've always had a problem with that, Ralph. And he just laughed. And I just remember him saying that and me thinking, yeah, I've always had because you want to be a man, you want to be a guy, you want to prove yourself. And as an actor, you're just pretending half the time, so you got to do that on your own. You got to go out and find who you are and what you're doing on your own. And when you start as a kid, it's hard to find that. And I had a lot of friends that were big names back then that had, they got in trouble trying to find out if they could be, the difference between a tough guy and just a guy. And it was, the balance.
You did a lot of military shows and a lot of roles as someone who was.
I got into a lot. I did a lot of cowboy things. Then I did this Matlock, 2-part Matlock. And then I did a thing called, I forget the name of the show, but it was a thing we did in Savannah, another military thing.
Wasn't For Love or Honor? Also?
For Love and Honor was before that. Yeah, For Love and Honor was with Cliff Potts and Yaphet Kotto and Keenan Waynes, and yeah, that was pretty fun. That was really fun. Actually, same thing. I get that job, and I live in the Valley, and I got the hand-me-down Mustang from my dad. I had that Blazer, but I fell asleep in that Blazer one night. Went off the freeway at the Woodman overpass. My whole life. I never should have survived, and I walked away. Went off the overpass. Like the truck was nothing left of it. So then I get this. I go, I got to get my life together. That should have killed me. So I get For Love and Honor, which was a big deal to get because life had changed and all this stuff that had happened. And I really had to figure out how to make it work. And I went in and read for that. And I knew I got it. I knew I went out. You're so by yourself. You can't tell anyone. You don't want to jinx it. There's no one to call afterward. It's just like you've just landed this series regular role after you thought you'd never work again at 20. Oh, it might have been 19. I think it was 19. Wow. And David Gerber was the producer. And I remember I did it, and he was in the back row, and he looked at me and he goes like this. I guess that meant I nailed it. I don't know what he meant, but I remember seeing it and thinking, I think that's a good sign. And so we did For Love and Honor, military. Then the HBO thing, HBO War Stories is what it was called. And then I got on tour of duty. So yeah, I did Army for a long time.
And you did an episode of MASH.
Yes, I did that MASH. That was great. That was so much fun. Those guys.
I bet.
I mean, what a world. But I got there too late. It's like I matured too late. Everything happened too late. Like, I probably felt, on any time you're on a series, you get really comfortable with what you're doing and you start to get in that mode where you're like, okay, I can do this. But it doesn't start out there. And also I was lucky with most of these shows. It'd be difficult to get a show where you are the young, cocky, knows it all, really bright, nothing but confidence right at the start, because that's tough to do as an actor because you already don't have confidence going into the job, So I was really lucky. I get these jobs where I was the fish out of water trying to figure it out. So it's really easy to build that character.
See, and I got Mary Ellen at 13, who was cocky and sure of herself, and I'd gone through a little sort of transformational phase as I turned 13 myself. Otherwise, I never would have gotten that role. I wouldn't have. Before that, everything I ever got was like some scared little kid because I'd walk into an audition and that's what I looked like.
Yeah.
And I just had sort of, hit this phase where I was like, I was so full of myself. I was probably really obnoxious to get along with, but it worked for the character. And yeah.
No, you really have to believe in yourself in anything you do. I've been working as a carpenter for years. I had a roofing company with my brother-in-law for a long time, and I can't count the amount of houses we roofed. And then finished carpentry came, and I've been doing that for a long, long time. And so that's cabinets and hanging doors and all the little finish work you can imagine. But that you have to have the same confidence in that. You got to believe in whatever you're doing. You got to work at every house like it's your own, and it's got to mean something. If it doesn't mean something, you don't even bother. Don't even bother coming out, because this is someone's house. And at the end of the day, you need to go, okay, can I feel good about what I did today? These people are spending their hard-earned cash to get this done. Did I do enough work? And so I've felt that way with all of it. And then it's different with television and film, because that's something you can really feel, within you. When it's right, that you don't really know exactly what you did, but you can do this exact same thing again, and it was right on the money, and at least you hope so. No one's throwing you off the set. But it's it's really fun. When it's working, it's fun. When it's not, like most of us, me anyway, I didn't get married until I was 47. I chased it for a long, long time, and to get married and try to have kids, be like, how do I do that? And then once I got married and I have my 2 daughters, I was just, I'm good. Let's do this. Let's hang out with them. I haven't really wanted to, like Riley's 14. I didn't really want to, as much as I would like to have gotten on another job, another series or something. I didn't really want to be away from her because I know how tough that is and how tough it was for me. But now they're ready for me to go. So I'm ready to, I'm really happy to play the father to the new up and coming star.
Or the grandfather, as we are. Exactly. I played my first grandmother at about 40 or something. I was like, oh my God.
Soon you can't even play. You can't play a grandmother now.
Well, it was something that I was supposed to have, gotten pregnant like really young, and then the son had a baby. So it was like one of those where okay, yes, chronologically I could, but
it's weird.
I was like, I'm not ready for this.
Oh, listen, I said to my mother 2 years ago when I was just getting over this deal, I said, I knew I was getting old, Mom, but I didn't think it was going to happen in 3 months, because it really felt like it was just overnight. And I don't feel that way anyway. So we were saying, so I went through that cancer thing, which, and that's hard because I had a very dear friend of mine go through it, and he was 5 years out, and we just lost him recently. Mm-hmm. And, it's hard that's all hard, losing friends, and what a great guy. And he was helping me, calling me all the time. Tony, I'm 5 years out of this thing. I feel great. I'm riding a Harley with my wife. Things are great. And then he's gone. And you're like, all right. So I'll talk to Tiffany. I'll say, listen, I may have 40 years. I may have 40 days. I want to enjoy all of it, best we can. Still, just enjoy it. Life is, we know it's brief, but we don't ever really know it's brief until all of a sudden you're going, yeah, dude, it could be really brief. Like within the next week. Well, let's try to get over this week and we'll see. And with that in mind, you just want to enjoy all of these moments that you have and get out and do it. And that was the thing of being able to go back to work at Warner Brothers and with friends and on a job like that. It's like I've always been a really fierce defender of Hollywood, high-speed Hollywood crew. My dad was on a crew for 50 years, and they're just great. I mean, the best of the best. Like, you see things when you're doing the Waltons where you're like, well, this is going to take them forever to set up. Maybe set up in 20 minutes. Mm-hmm. Those guys have been waiting in those chairs all day to cover the whole house so it's night, And I love that aspect of it.
Yeah.
Really, really.
And
really.
when you get in a work situation where they care and they are working with you, and it's that team spirit of, okay, we have this much time until we lose the light or whatever, and that everybody really pulls together to make it happen.
Yeah. And in the big leagues, as they say, everyone has respect for each other. Everyone's making a good living, but they're working their asses off. And they know that there's 100 people lined up, if not 1,000, ready to take their job at that moment.
And ours too.
A phone call away. And so everybody really wants to do the best they can. One thing I found that, interestingly enough, John Wells, who does The Pit, right? He did West Wing as well, right? Mm-hmm. And when my dad passed away, we lived on Curson, and they were shooting West Wing across the street at a house. And I was like, oh man, Hollywood, they're going to take over the streets. They're going to be rude. They're going to act like they own everything. Just lost my dad, I'm 36. Well, they call the house. Production calls our house to say how sorry they are and if there's anything they can do for us. And it was pretty nice, but I thought maybe it was nonsense, But I said, thank you very much. I really appreciate it. Listen, just tell the guys over there that the guy who just lost his life over here was one of the reasons they're getting all of the benefits they're getting from their union. He was a fierce worker for the crew. He'd been on a crew, and just let them know one of their own. It's finally moving on. And these guys went above and beyond. They moved their trucks to the back road. They left parking in front of my house. They left the police officer in front of our house. It was amazing. I mean, it was so cool. It made me just have such a great attitude. But of course, it's these guys. It's West Wing guys. They're people. They're good people. But that was an interesting part of that business too. And then working on that show. It's just like any of them that are on that level of like the Waltons was the #1 show, and everyone, your crew's the best.
Thank you for joining me for this next piece of my conversation with Tony, and I hope to see you next time when I do more behind the scenes of the Waltons, and also I'll be concluding my conversation with Tony. Thanks for watching.